So I was reminded the other day after one of my posts on Instagram that this whole Bud Light thing is probably a distraction for something much, much worse, as they always are. Thank you to the person who reminded me. I don't know their name, but yes, of course, it is. It could be. It could be. I don't know. Let's find out. This person mentioned the Restrict Act, and I've heard about it a little bit, but I don't know much about it. So we're going to learn about it together and find out what they're up to now. They're always up to no good. They're always up to no good. This is an article in reason.com. The Restrict Act would restrict a lot more than TikTok. I'll put the link in the description down below. Let's read this and learn together. Once again, politicians, by the way, this is from from March 31st, 2023. Once again, politicians use popular fears to push for open-ended power. Even if you believe that governments should be in the business of banning things such as popular communication tools, the details of the effort to eject TikTok from the United States should give you pause. Predictably, politicians are using fears that the popular social media service is spying on behalf of the Chinese government to propose broad legislation that threatens to affect much more than one app. Now, let's recap a little bit because I talked about this. Gosh, has it been a year ago? Maybe. So much has happened in so little time. Donald Trump put an executive order out to ban TikTok, which at the time seemed reasonable, right? They are a Chinese-owned company, and China is our enemy, and China does horrific things to their people. You know, I don't have to go through the rundown, but they lock them inside of their homes, and basically sayonara. So that seemed reasonable to me at the time. Joe Biden gets in, and by the way, anything Joe Biden does, I pretty much question, and anything he is in business, anyone who is in business with, or anything he says is good, I question. Like, that guy's super suspect to me. And Joe Biden said, no, they're good. They're good. And then we move forward a few months, and Joe Biden enlists them, TikTok, to help manage information in the midterm elections, which again, super suspect. Basically, anything Joe Biden is involved in, I'm suspect of it. Right? Because he's suspect. Excuse me. So that's a little bit of backstory. So let's continue on here. Wait, I thought this was about TikTok. Would the Restrict Act, aka the TikTok ban bill, criminalize the use of VPNs? Reason's Elizabeth Nolan Brown asked of the potential impact on virtual private networks that shield internet users' identities and locations. The answer is, in many cases, yes. But wait, there's more. The Restrict Act, proposed by Senator Mark Warner, Democrat of Virginia, and a list of co-sponsors, including Senator John Thune, Republican of South Dakota, doesn't mention TikTok or parent company ByteDance or even social media. Instead, it hands a whole lot of power to the government, particularly the Secretary of Commerce. Quote, to review and prohibit certain transactions between persons in the United States and foreign adversaries, end quote. Regarding information and communication technology, the bill's text states in part, and this is what the bill says, the Secretary, in consultation with the relevant executive department, okay, that's the president in my understanding, and agency heads, is authorized to and shall take action to identify, deter, disrupt, prevent, prohibit, investigate, or otherwise mitigate, including by negotiating, entering into, or imposing and enforcing any mitigation measure to address any risk arising from any covered transaction by any person or with respect to any property, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States that the Secretary determines. Holy shit. What? What did we just read? Basically, they can do anything to anyone at any time. That's how I read that. Wow. Okay, let's continue here. It then launches into a list of presumed horribles involving information and communications technology products, critical infrastructure and digital economy, a federal election or national election. It includes a vague authorization of action to counter coercive or criminal activities by a foreign adversary that are designed to undermine democratic processes and institutions or steer policy and regulatory decisions in favor of the strategic objectives of a foreign adversary. Dude, some of those things seem like you know who already does those things. The GOV. Well, or people who are in power at any given point in time. And I'm talking about the left. I'm not talking about the right. I haven't seen it from the right. I've only seen it from the left. Super sketchy behavior coming from the left. The Restrict Act has been garnering bipartisan momentum in the Senate. That's scary. I added that's scary. That was not in the article. As well as backing from the Biden administration. Of course, again, my rule of thumb is if Biden's backing it, I'm not backing it. He's super suspect to me. As well as backing from the Biden administration as a workable solution to address the emergent risk posed by foreign ITC products and services to national security. As far as I can tell, let's just talk about that for a moment. There's no bigger risk to national security than Joe Biden, in my humble opinion. Do we need to get into Afghanistan? Do we need to get into the situation in Ukraine? Do we need to get into his son's hunter? His son Hunter's travels all over the world peddling influence. There's no bigger risk to America than that guy. Okay, let's continue here. The National Law Review summarized last week, if passed, the Restrict Act would provide the Secretary of Commerce broad authority to take appropriate measures to deal with identified risks and to enforce such measures with hefty civil and criminal penalties. Of course, this being the 21st century, the bill also grants the president new power to take actions regarding undue or unacceptable risk posed by information and communications technology. That's a huge grant of authority to address the proposed peril posed by TikTok. What does it all mean? Yes, it is a huge grant of authority. I, for one, don't think the federal government need any more authority or power. They're already out of control. They're already just completely out of control. Use your imagination. Government officials implementing the law certainly will. Yes, they will. Right? These people are freaking masters of manipulation and writing bills that leave a lot open and vague so that they can do whatever they want. Okay, no, it's not just about TikTok. VPNs would be covered in the Restrict Act led by Senators Mark Warner and John Thune that would require the Commerce Department to evaluate the national security risks of foreign technology. The Washington Post's Tim Stark writes, Warner said Chinese VPNs were the sort of apps that cry out for a systemic review like that proposed in the bill, which would allow the Commerce Department to examine apps on national security grounds. Stark's colleague, Joseph Min, reported this week. But the legislation doesn't stop there. The bill's reference to digital economy also raises eyebrows. Yes, it does. See, here's the thing. I don't know why people trust the federal government at this point. It's clear to me that they continually just like tighten the noose more and more. Look what's happening now. All they can talk about is GUNCONTROL. That's all they care about. Meanwhile, we got problems in Ukraine. We got problems with China and Russia and what is it? The Brexit, with the other countries getting together to basically do economic warfare against the United States. And from what I can tell, crash the dollar. I recently heard that Japan is now purchasing oil off the petrodollar, not using American dollars and paying more to do so. We'll probably talk about that in a future article. But as far as I can see, they suck. Why would we give them more power? They, especially given the fact that we already gave them a bunch of power under the Patriot Act. Made a stupid, horrible mistake. And I think people are finally waking up to that. They cannot have any more power. They're not good stewards of the power, right? Let's continue here. Yeah, digital economy. Although the primary targets of the legislation are companies like TikTok, the language of the bill could potentially be used to block or disrupt cryptocurrency transactions and, in extreme cases, block Americans' access to open source tools or protocols like Bitcoin. Warren's Coin Center. Under the bill, any technology targeted by the government should be connected to a foreign adversary. Those are defined in the text as China, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and Venezuela. But the bill also allows the Secretary of Commerce to designate new foreign adversaries in consultation with the Director of National Intelligence. No, thank you. They're all working together. Why do they, at this point, they don't. The little charade of, oh, you're safe because we need to have all these departments. No, Congress isn't helping the situation either, right? They're some of the clowns that are sending all that money to Ukraine for what? I don't even know. All right, let's continue here. That allows an enormous amount of room to go after technology developed in whole or part in countries that don't play along with crackdowns on cryptocurrencies, encryption, or online speech. And the language may allow even broader reach for meddling by U.S. officials. It's not just about foreign apps either. No person may cause or aid, abet, counsel, command, induce, procure, permit, or approve the doing of any act prohibited by or the omission of any act required by any regulation, order, direction, mitigation, measure, prohibition, or other authorization or directive issued under this act, adds the bill. Arguably, that applies to using an American VPN to evade restrictions on foreign services. Perhaps a court would ultimately deem it unusable against individuals merely trying to evade a TikTok ban, but that doesn't mean prosecutors wouldn't try, observed Brown. The bill provides for civil penalties of up to $250,000 or an amount that is twice the value of the transaction that is the basis of the violation. And criminal penalties for up to 20 years in prison. That said, the sponsors insist that doesn't apply to people using TikTok or other targeted technology. I just don't trust them. Never will again. Never will again. They're just super suspect to me. Under the terms of the bill, someone must be engaged in sabotage or subversion of communication technology in the U.S., causing catastrophic effects on U.S. critical infrastructure, or interfering in or altering the result or of a federal election in order for criminal penalties to apply. Rachel Cohen, Warner's communication director, insists. Maybe, but those terms are open to definition. Chances are that ambitious prosecutors will, as always, test the boundaries of the law, and some unfortunate souls will be forced to run the federal gauntlet. Yes, they will. If the feds don't like TikTok, they shouldn't use it. We are troubled by growing demands in the United States for restrictions on TikTok, a technology that many people have chosen to exchange information with others around the world, notes the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Before taking such a drastic step, the government must come forward with specific evidence showing, at the very least, a real problem and a narrowly tailored solution. That's a great start, but knowing our federal government, they'll probably just trump something up, no pun intended, and push it forward. But yeah, that is a great start. Where's the problem, right? Talking about where's the problem, again, our federal government is famous for naming an invisible problem that doesn't even exist, and then getting Americans to hand over more of our money and more of our freedom in order to fix the problem or stay safe. It's pretty much bullshit, and I think a lot of people are on to the little grift. I know I certainly am, and a lot of people I talk to are, especially after the last 3 years. This last little grift they did with their buddies in the pharmaceutical industry, probably going to be their last as far as widespread mass buy-in. People are onto it, right? This is why grifters have to move from town to town, country to country. Once someone gets onto the grift, that's done. They got to move on. So I don't know why why they continue to believe people don't see through their bullshit. One more paragraph here. Narrowly tailored would be deleting TikTok from sensitive government devices and otherwise leaving people alone to make their own choices. That's a novel idea. That's a great idea. The Restrict Act isn't narrowly tailored at all. In fact, it's so broad, it's difficult to see where its authoritarian powers end. Open-ended bills crafted to exploit popular panics make for terrible legislation. Yes, they do. Let's run through the bills. The Patriot Act was a complete joke. The Affordable Care Act turned out to be a complete joke. The Financial Reform Act turned out to be a complete joke. What's the one they passed last year? There were three passed last year. One of them was the toward the end of the year, the omnibus spending package. That was a complete joke. There was one in there. They're starting to really mess around with gun control a lot, which is super scary. Meanwhile, we have huge problems in our country. Foreign policy problems, domestic policy problems, inflation, freaking infrastructure problems, and trains crashing and spilling chemicals all around. Like, handle the problems. Don't make up little fictitious problems to scare us into giving up more of our freedoms and liberty, freedoms and money. We are on to you, clown shows. All right. Leave me a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe for more videos like this, exposing evil and corruption in the world, learning, informing ourselves about what's up. Follow me everywhere on social media. I share different content there at GMarkPhillips. And until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.